to the seventh episode of 5 Minute Monties with Spike Rob and your boy Space Ghost Chad. How we doing?
Well, we had a good bye week, I guess. We'll see if we actually had a good bye week or not.
Yeah, it feels forever since we played. The last weeks feels like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so big matchup with NC State this week. Not necessarily Clemson, but Miami coming off a bye week. You never know. I think this is a big game to see how good this team really is and what's the new Manny Diaz tenure going to be about.
I agree. I think that the number one biggest thing is we come out and we have a really good first quarter. Not just a good first drive like we did against Virginia, which was awesome. I will take that every time, but have a just very strong, high energy first quarter that shows everyone that we took the bye week and really prepared and came out with some sort of mental edge. Something that I blogged about last week, posted it last Saturday for the Canes fans who were bored with the bye week. But coming out with a mental edge is really all the bye week is about. And clearly at 0-4, Manny has not been able to do that in the past. This is a week where hopefully, since we're not playing Clemson coming out the gate, we're not playing in Clemson, we are playing in NC State, but we're not playing in Clemson, we can be in a position to come out with a mental edge for the first time ever after a bye week under Manny.
Yeah, even though it's NC State, I'll just feel really good about the team if we can come out and just handle our business.
Absolutely.
So the one thing that might be a questionable is hopefully we'll see tomorrow with the news, but they flew out today. Just hoping that there's not any last minute COVID cases. Someone tweeted out today that Derek King wasn't at the airport, but those type of tweets, I rarely put that much effort. Like when in the NFL, when people are at they're at the airport, like that's rarely true. And I think by now that would be such a big hit that if King was actually out, we would know.
Yeah, Twitter would be blowing up.
Yeah. So any points on King for quarterback play?
The biggest thing with King, in my opinion, is at least from the breakdown of the game film from Virginia, he did very well at passing the ball into good situations. That's why he had like a 70% completion rating, threw for 322 yards. That's awesome. It did not lead to a ton of points because it's either a deep strike or nothing, at least in the way that the play calls have been. That's not really on King. However, he had technically 14 rushes for 28 yards. That's from all the sacks, that's from all the scrambles that didn't go very far. I think that this week, if we want to see King take that next step in his maturity and his ability to lead the offense, I think he needs to throw the ball away more. It's okay to have a 60% completion rating if you're not taking sacks, taking hits. Just throw the ball away, start again. It's okay. It's not on him to have to be Superman every play. That's really the biggest thing I want to see from him is that against a team like NC State, we don't need heroics, at least not right out of the gate. So he shouldn't have to overextend himself like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm hoping to see from him is again, if he's going to be throwing those deep passes, be able to step into them, use his technique correctly. And I think that he'll be very, very good on those deep passes because he has in the past when he has time and when he uses the right technique. But him trying to be perfect through the air to me leads to a lot of hits, a lot of bad runs, and it makes our running game look worse. And it puts a lot of pressure on your offensive line when you're back there scrambling instead of just rolling out and throwing the ball away.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'd like to see from him. That's again from more of a leadership aspect. His stats, if he throws for 300 yards again, that's going to be awesome. No matter how bad his completion rating is, I'm good with another 300-yard game from De'Ara King. But the leadership aspect, I think, will help the rest of the offense click as they go.
And that's a great point because I was going to ask you, at this point in the season, do you think he maybe comes back for next year? Because he's got a lot of things to work on, like you said, making smarter decisions.
It's going to be interesting because the class that could be graduating this year from college to the NFL could be stacked from top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that he would be lost in the shuffle and he would not get a good look from anybody in particular
Mm-hmm.
coming out of college this year. With that said, if we end the year 10-1 or whatever it is, even if we don't go back to the ACC championship game and he's only lost to Clemson, maybe he should go because it just makes more sense for him to do what works best for his career. But yeah, he's definitely got things to work on. I think that the number one thing for King is that everybody understands how versatile he is, but he hasn't shown that he is excellent on a consistent week to week basis on any particular thing. So if he thinks that with a second year under Lashley, he can come back and be consistently great week to week, then he absolutely should. If he thinks that, well, this was a good experiment, but I am who I've always been, and I'm ready now. I have a 10-1 team in the ACC. I'm ready to go to the pros. Then he should, but he's going to be picked up as a backup, and it's going to be a backup for like Lamar Jackson or someone who is just as much of a dual threat as him. He's not going to be backing up pocket passers,
Mm-hmm.
not at this point anyway. He just hasn't shown enough of that to make it worthwhile. So if it were me being his agent, I would say he has a very interesting set of skills that maybe NFL teams are willing to take a flyer on, but no one's going to take a flyer on him in the first round. He's not going to go as one of the top quarterbacks in general, just based on what he's shown in his skill set. He's a shorter guy. Again, if he was showing Lamar Jackson like ridiculousness on the field, then they probably would be willing to give a shot at because they think he's the next Lamar Jackson. But no one's made that comparison. So I don't think he's going to be going to the Baltimore Ravens to start over Lamar Jackson. And I think the Ravens are the only team that'll draft him. So if he's okay with that, he should do it. If not, maybe he'll do even better as a passer under Rhett Lashley. I don't know.
Yeah, and if you've been listening to us since episode 1, we've said every single week, all I want to see is more consistency. And when you think about it, for this upcoming draft, you know the big dogs, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, but then the BYU quarterback is balling out. Tanner Morgan from Minnesota, Trey Lance, and that's already five quarterbacks. And just based on what I've seen from I'm not an NFL scout, but I can't see him going higher than like the 5th round right now. And that's
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
yeah, I mean, just to be real with it. So moving on to the running backs, Cheney, I would like to see more touches. And what do you have to say about Cam?
I know that Cameron tweeted something about being disrespected over Twitter. And it was interesting because honestly, as a fan, I didn't think anybody was disrespecting Cam at all, at least through Twitter. We weren't saying that he was a terrible runner or anything like that. He kind of drew attention to himself when he did that. My understanding since the bye week is that he was upset with the coaches disrespecting him in terms of giving him less carries than Cheney and Rooster, I believe, at Virginia. And to be fair to Cameron, the plays that they were running for the running backs were pretty terrible in general. My article that just came out yesterday, I actually broke down the interior running game, and it was actually fairly effective. We were averaging over 4 yards a carry in between the tackles, but all of those outside, slow developing stretch plays and stuff like that were really terrible. And of course, like I said, De'Ara King's stats rushing the ball when he gets sacked or he's trying to scramble and only gets back to the line of scrimmage, those are counted as runs as well, even though it was a pass play. So our running game looked really weak, and Cam was kind of set up for failure in that regard. And the fact that Cheney was put in a similar situation and made things happen is why he got more touches. But all three of them did fine in between the tackles. It was not really his fault, but he still felt like he could have been having those carries instead of the other guys. Well, you got to do more with your touches. You have to show the burst that everybody now knows you have. Um, I think that all three of them we're going to do an equal timeshare. We're going to be just as bad as any backfield in fantasy football that doesn't have, Derrick Henry in it. Like this is the same sort of setup for the pro style Canes offense. You share the load with two or three other guys, and you have to make magic happen with far less touches. I think if he takes that frustration and shows up with motivation, I think that we're going to see a really good game from Cameron Harris like we did against UAB. Dude beasted out. And that was a good defense. I think that he'll have an even better opportunity against this NC State defense that we'll talk about in a little bit. But he has to show the effort. Again, it's that you don't get to take a week off um, sort of attitude. And so I don't think he purposely took a week off, but he probably expected to have more chances. And when they didn't happen, he probably got frustrated and realized that he wasn't going to have a great stat line. So every opportunity needs to be treasured. Every carry, he needs to be trying to make basically make yards after the hit, yards after break tackles, whatever it is that you need to do to show that you're the man, and they'll keep giving you the ball. So, but it was Cheney last week or 2 weeks ago. It was definitely Cheney. Everybody knew it. That's why Cheney was in. I think it was the Wildcat call at the end of the game. They kept Cheney in there instead of the wild cam that he got to have for Florida State. And I think that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. Was it's a direct snap to a running back. Why is it not your starting running back? And the short answer is that Cheney was running better, and so they tried to get him the ball more. Is that fair to Cam? I don't know, but and to be fair, it wasn't Cheney that scored. Like, he did get credit. It was our offensive lineman who basically hugged it into the end zone. So anybody could have done that, in my opinion, as the running back. But I get it. He wants to do more. Well, he has to show more. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, and Cam can be a hothead on Twitter sometimes. We saw when Lingard transferred, he was talking shit. He always like talks shit. So I think that's just like his personality. But I'm not worried about him threatening to transfer or anything like that. I think he'll get over it. And then Cam works hard. He'll figure it out. And just transitioning to tight ends, I think that you mentioned that the outside runs aren't doing as well, but I think the Brevin coming back this week will be a big help for that.
I think so. Honestly, when I was looking over the film, I know you like Mammarelli, but he fucked up quite a few blocks.
Hey, I like him, but he is a freshman, so give him some time.
He is a freshman. Well, so now, why am I forgetting his name now? Poor guy. 81, who is our.
Is it Hodges? I know 81 on
Yes.
defense is Hunt.
Yeah,
But,
no. So 81 on offense is Hodges.
yeah,
Hodges had some great blocks,
I like Hodges.
fantastic blocks.
I like Hodges a lot.
Yeah, he blocked. He did. There were some plays, the biggest run plays of the night, that wasn't Derek King scrambling for his life. Hodges blocked the end down, and then once the pulling guard got there, Ja'Kai Clark, he then released and ran down and hit another guy 10 yards downfield, which is where Cheney was. He did a fantastic job. Memorelli, I think he whiffed 2 or 3 plays out of those interior runs, and I don't want to put all the blame on him because I know it's not his normal thing. So I agree with you that the blocking should be better with our 2 starters, Mallory and Jordan, in there. But even with that, our outside running game is pretty garbage because our linemen aren't fast enough to get out there. So we're relying totally on our tight ends to be just great run blockers. And they're good run blockers, but I'm not expecting Will Mallory to crush everybody on NC State by himself, or Brevin Jordan.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about Memorale is that blocking is probably one of the hardest things to learn as a true freshman because of all the schemes. And that's why we don't see any of our young offensive linemen playing. Like, I want to see Jalen Rivers play, and he's going to be a top-tier talent, but they're easing him in, and that's why, because of schemes. So on the note for offensive line, do you have any notes on that for the game?
So breaking down everybody thought the offensive line did really poorly against UVA. I would agree with that assessment. They did. Again, inconsistency has been the biggest issue with this offensive line. We have seen them play really well, and we've seen them play really poorly. And the biggest issue that I have is I don't know an easy way to fix that other than what I said, which was the only thing they seemed consistently good at. And by consistently, I mean 75% of the plays they ran in between the tackles were blocked well, and nobody got blown up or missed their assignment. But 25% people still miss their assignment. And that's bad when that's the most consistent part of your game. But I think that what we talked about with King not trying to scramble and just throw the ball away, make it nice and easy, that will help the offensive line look better on pass protection, and also make them feel better that they're not trying for 10 seconds to keep these guys away from King because he just doesn't want to give up on the play. and it ends up being an incompletion anyway. Like they're now all exhausted. You just had them run around as long as you did, and they're a lot bigger and slower than you. And at the end of the day, if there's nothing there, then there's nothing there. It's okay. It that sort of decision making will help them. And one of the things that I was talking about in my article yesterday was keeping flexibility in the play calling in the second and third quarters.
Mhm.
So we went on streaks where we'd run the ball 5 times in a row. Well, that's great for linemen, but if the defense starts stacking the box like they did, now it's no longer fun for anybody to just have to try and push and push and push instead of doing a play action pass or whatever. So I think that flexibility of keeping the defense on their heels will make our offensive line look a lot better, feel a lot better, and be far more consistent than they have been in the past. So this defensive lineup for NC State is very, very similar to Florida State. They love running their 3-3-5 defense. They love playing zone. I think that will now they have three linebackers who are tackle machines apparently, but there's only three down linemen to protect them. So if our offensive linemen aren't getting to their linebackers and having a shot at them on a consistent basis on running plays, then we are not doing a good job of scheming up situations for them to do that. And hopefully our linemen will look at that as this is going to be great. I get to block someone much smaller than me on a regular basis. I'm going to basically drive them all the way back to, Miami. That should be the attitude. So I consistency is what we're looking for after a bye week. I really hope that they come out and, like I said, have a great first quarter and they're consistent throughout the game.
And to your point, what we talked about earlier, if Derek is more consistent and makes smarter decisions, then that will help the lineman. So moving on to the wide receivers, not going to go too much on them. We've talked about them a lot every episode, but Harley, I would like to see him be if he put up a big game last game, and he was feeling good about himself. I just want to see it twice in a row. And the one thing is Peyton, what's good with him? It's been enough time for him to get it together. I mean,
So
yeah, I'll die on the hill. That was a Peyton truther, but I mean, all I heard last year was how he was tearing up the practice fields, and I thought he had maybe a slow start because he had COVID, but it's been at least 3 games now since he's been back.
yeah, I mean, with that said, I think that if we put him in a position to excel at what he's good at, he'll show up. Now, I don't mean that in he's going to have 100 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns or anything like that. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. The type of receiver that I've seen from him is he is an outside guy. He's more of a tall, deep threat, deep, like the way that he runs his deep routes, I have seen him really confuse defenders, blow by them. I mean, people will try to chuck him at the line and he goes right by them, which our other starting receivers can't do. They're just not big enough to do that. He is bigger than those guys and more physical in that regard in terms of man press coverage. Again, we're not probably going to see that against NC State unless they change up their entire defense just for us, which is possible because they might still try to challenge our receivers. But I think he's really good at breaking the press, unlike Pope, unlike Harley. Even Wiggins is not good at getting off of man press because they're just not big physical guys. They're quick and they might have some height to them, but they're not guys who are going to break your press right off the line. And I've seen Peyton do that. But then I watch the plays that we actually throw to him, and they're all screen plays. they're all short passes, and I just don't think he's very good at those. And I understand he's rotating in for the three guys that, like, he rotates in for, I think it's Pope, and Pope runs short routes. So we're not really setting him up for success, but he's also there's always something wrong. Like his shoe falls off, just he gets punched in the face by a cheap shot. Something is going to happen. So I'm going to call that for sure. Peyton's going to have something bizarre happen to him during the game, but it's either before or after he gets his first catch of the night. If he gets a good first catch of the night, I think it won't matter. Weird shit will still happen, but he'll persevere despite it. If it happens before his first catch, he'll be done. Mentally, he'll be distracted. He won't be in the right position. He won't get any catches the rest of the night.
Well, that's on Lashley too for misusing him,
Sure. Well, and again, Lashley has barely seen him. He didn't have a spring guy with this guy. He's only seen the guy was out because of COVID, didn't even get to show up to practice for 3 weeks. I'm not putting it all like, oh, Lashley's off the hook. He should know his guys by now because we can see it on the field. But Lashley also has to feed a wide receiver room that's pretty deep, about six guys deep. He's got to feed three running backs, and he's got to make sure that his dual threat quarterback is actually a dual threat. So I think at the bottom of that totem pole is Jeremiah Payton, who went out and got COVID and can't keep a shoe on, and all sorts of
Yeah.
shenanigans that happen with him. He's just gonna have to step it up. When he's out there, he needs to be amazing. And I think he can be, but he needs to make it about him. So he can't be denied.
Well, I mean, yeah, he didn't have enough time with Lashley. Sorry, but Lashley, like, as I said earlier, he was balling out apparently on the practice field last year. So they at least take tape for the practices. So Manny was there last year. They have tape of Peyton from last year. So I mean, last thing
Yeah.
I'll say about that is like they you got to have more than the same amount of catches as Marshall Few.
Oh, still hating on Marshall Few. That's fair.
Well, I'm not
Um,
hating. I'm sure he's a hard worker and everything, but I just don't get it. But I don't know. I'd like to also see more from Keyshawn and Redding. Not that they haven't done, but use more.
I agree. I think all of those are true. This is going to turn into a discussion about our defense. And so there's an easy answer to feed all these mouths in on the offensive side of the ball, but we don't have a defense that does that, but we'll get there.
Well, while we're on the topic, we'll transition to the other side of the ball. I think a big point for this game is that we gotta get pressure on this third string quarterback and just confuse him all game.
Yeah. Against North Carolina, NC State had over 300 passing yards between two different quarterbacks. Now, they also threw, I think, three picks between the two of them and had two touchdowns, but they only had 34 yards rushing against North Carolina. And
Mm-hmm.
this is North Carolina, like just come
Yeah.
on, it's North Carolina. So and they end up losing like 48-21 or something like that to North Carolina 2 weeks ago. So I'm sure that while they're looking forward, they plan for us for 2 weeks and how to break through Blake Baker's defense. They don't have a lot working for them right now, and now they're down to their third string quarterback. We absolutely should be able to pressure this guy. We absolutely should not be leaving anybody wide open. That is what I hope they've been hammering in the D-backs' heads, how to run their zone. For 2 weeks, you've now been able to sit back and actually work on all those zone defenses that Blake Baker loves so much. They should not be leaving anyone wide open.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that they'll be in position to make highlight plays because, in my opinion, zone can usually just lead to very soft defense if you don't play it right. And again, we're leaving guys wide open by 5 yards or more at times. So we're not there yet. We're not an effective zone defensive scheme yet. But at least don't leave the guys wide the fuck open. Like that's what I want to see from our our defense.
Yeah,
So
personally, I'm really excited to see Corey Couch again. Maybe my new favorite player. I just like when he makes big plays like that. It just energizes me. Not,
absolutely.
not much to do to say on the linebackers, except we hope that Flag and Sam Brooks get more playing time. I think they will. It seems like from last game they played more. Baker played them more than the duo of Jennings and McLeod.
Well, Flag was out because of the of COVID. So
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
yeah, but we did play Brooks a lot. And he blitzed with BJJ and a little bit with McLeod. And I hope that he does that more.
Mm-hmm.
I can't expect that in 2 weeks Baker decided to shift his entire defensive philosophy, but I would hope that as part of pressuring the quarterback, he just sends the middle linebacker more. He can't be worried about them running the ball. Again, they ran the ball 36 yards against North Carolina the whole game. Like you just, to my mind, you got to feel like that's not your issue. Go get the quarterback and just blitz the crap out of him. I hope, but I think the number one thing that I would love to see from our defense this week, this is on my wish list. I don't think it's actually going to happen, but I want to see our defense force at least three or four true three and outs, as in they get the ball, they go three plays, they punt. That's what I want to see. And if they can't do that, at least two turnovers, one or the other. Like I need one or the other from this defense because our offense only had 10 drives last game against Virginia. Granted, two or three of them were 10 plus plays. One was like 16 plays, which ended in a field goal. But those, we should be getting like 14 drives a game. If we
Mhm.
really want our guys, if we want Lashley to really cook, if you want this high paced offense to really wear down defenses and really pay dividends in the fourth quarter, we need to have the ball early and often. And we just need to get the ball back as soon as possible so their defense has no time for a breather. Once you do that, all the guys you're talking about should get plenty of playing time. They should get plenty of opportunity to run all over these guys and to really show what they're made of. But Baker doesn't like to do that because the bend don't break defense is sure you can have the ball 10 plays and kick a field goal, but that doesn't help your high pressure offense at all. It's actually completely contrary to the philosophy of a up tempo, run the ball 70 plays a game offense.
Yeah. Last couple points I'll say about the defense is I just love watching Quincy and Jalen both play together on the same field. They're insane. Like last year was awesome with Greg, but to have and the year before Gerald Willis was like a beast. But to have all of them at the same time, two guys, and like you said, I think we should like last year should put up at least 35 points if like he wants to be legit.
Yeah, and I think that he will. Um, like I said, the question is he going to have to do it off of two or three big plays because he doesn't get the ball that much, or is he going to be able to get the ball, like I said, 13 or 14 times? Because we got the ball 14 times against Louisville. We had two huge scores, like 60 yards out, one to Rooster and one to Cameron Harris. But that's how we put up 40 something points. We had the ball 14 times, like 14 drives. We only got it for 10 against Virginia, and we settled for 3 field goals, one of which got blocked. Now all of a sudden you go from 40 points to 19. Makes a big difference.
Yeah, quick notes. I like Isaiah Dunston a lot, and it's great to see him like playing well when we don't have that much. When we only have five scholarship corners after Chris Williams left. And a big note to point out is that Avante Williams was at practice today, which is huge.
Awesome. That is huge. I'm glad that he was able to get in there. Yeah, Dunson did great on special teams. And the part that I really liked about it was he rarely got to see the field before he made a big play a couple weeks ago
Yeah,
against Pitt. But he didn't seem like he was excited, but he didn't seem like, oh my God, that's my only time I get to be on the field and I need to, I need to make the most of it. Like he made a big play, but then was like, all right, keep feeding me, let's do this. I'm ready. So I really like that about him. Just the way that he carried himself in that moment. So I think he's ready for more playing time.
yeah, I'm ready for it too. Not much to say about the special teams. They might be the most, besides maybe the running backs, our best part of the team.
I think that again, this goes back to the line, but we better not have another blocked field goal the rest of the year. That's all I have to say about that. There
Yeah,
was no reason to have a blocked field goal against Virginia, but in terms of morale, it is heartbreaking when you go 17, 16 plays and you get a field goal blocked. I mean, you should score after 16 plays anyway.
yeah,
That's a whole different discussion about the play calling. I didn't like the fact that we threw the ball 3 times to try and get a first down when we were driving. But the fact that after all that, we got 0 points because our offensive line could not, or the guys on special teams could not stop them enough to let Regalis actually kick the field goal. I know that they can. I think Florida State blocked all sorts. I think they blocked 3 field goals or 2 field goals, an extra point against Georgia Tech the week before. And then they came out and played against us and we scored a whole bunch and they didn't block anything. We kept those guys out the whole time. So what was the difference between that and Virginia?
yeah.
Nothing, in my opinion.
Well, especially when you only put up 19 points in a game, those block kicks are gonna feel a lot worse, right?
Absolutely. It's a
So,
morale breaker and it really deflates the whole offense. So,
well, hopefully we put up more than 20 points this time. So, you want to get into predictions?
sure, let's do it.
So I'm gonna be positive. I think it's gonna be close at first, and then we'll break away like we tend to do. It's obviously not against Clemson, but in other like UA. I think it's like sort of like UAB. it is like it's this weird night, Friday night. You know they're gonna have some fans out there, and this just seems like a trap game. So I'm like we said earlier, it would be really nice to just come out here, handle our business. But I'm gonna stay positive. I'm gonna hope Lashley puts up some points. So I'm gonna say 33-17.
Nice. I had the number of 34-20, which I thought was about right. Um, Here's what I'm hoping to see. Against Virginia, it was kind of a Blake Baker kind of night, right? Very low scoring, a lot of bend don't break defense on both sides of the ball, very boring. And what I'm hoping to see is that we get a first half of Rhett Lashley football and a second half of Blake Baker football.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that we get a lot of points on the board, either early or late. I imagine it would be early. Like I said, if we start hot in the first quarter, I think that we'll not only score in 2 plays like we did against Virginia, but we'll score the one after that as well, and really put ourselves in good position. And then by the second half, we'll probably start selling for field goals. And again, turn into a Blake Baker, slow everything down,
Yeah.
bend don't break defense, lull everybody to sleep, and maybe NC State kicks a couple field goals, and we'll have kind of a tale of two halves. So
I like that thought. Yeah. Oh yeah, you said your score. So I
yeah.
think we also need to get at least 2 turnovers too.
If we get 2 turnovers, we better score at least 30 points. That's all I can say. If we get any of those, if we get those 3 and outs, like I said, like 3 or 4 true 3 and outs, they get the ball, do nothing, punt it. I think we average like maybe 1 or 2 of those a game, and that's against pretty weak competition. I'm expecting us to really step up and actually get these guys off the field on third down. Um, Under Manny, we were one of the best teams, I think, in the country a couple years running, where we forced poor conversion of third downs. But on offense, we also were just as bad converting third downs. So I hope that that's something that they've worked on, is how to shut down third down conversions. If they do that, like I said, I think that our offense all of a sudden gets energized just from having the ball more, and from their defense not having a time to catch a break or a breather. And I think that we can run all over them. And then once we're up, I think then we can turn into the slog out, let Blake Baker basically be the Sandman and lull everybody to sleep.
Yeah,
So,
we both just want a very smart coach game.
oh, that would be great. A
Yeah.
fully smart, like from first quarter to fourth quarter, smartly coached game. I think we've gotten good half games from Lashley. We've gotten even 3 quarters of games from Baker, but then the last quarter we leave guys open by 10 yards and let it get close at the end for no reason. So I guess my philosophy for Blake Baker is no easy buckets. Do not allow them to score anything easily, and yet his defense has allowed that to happen, or has been in position to let that happen 3 weeks running now, and he needs to lock it up. So
Yeah, I just hope it's not the same old Canes and it's a bloodbath. But this is a tune-up game that you need to work on, like all the adjustments, so that when we play, I mean, hopefully Clemson at the end again at the end of the year. But even if not, just when we play better teams at the end of the schedule, like North Carolina, you got to fine-tune those mistakes and just look like a better overall team.
well, we play NC State this week, and then it's Virginia Tech in Blacksburg.
Yeah.
So they're coming up quick. Not going to have an easy game in Blacksburg. We never do. So we need to be ready.
So if there's anything else you want to add, we'll wrap it up.
Um, for this week, let's win a game after the bye. That's all there is to it. In the last 2 years, we're 0-4. NC State is 2-2. So they're better, but they're average. We could be that average. That's all I want us to be after bye weeks, is average. Most of the ACC is a 60% win percentage or worse. There's only 2 teams that are better than that, or 3 teams actually, and it's Pittsburgh, Notre Dame, and Clemson. Of course, Clemson's the obvious one because they never lose to the ACC. But those are the 3 teams that, yeah, I would love to be on their level at some point in the future. But for right now, we're 0-4. Let's just get into the conversation and be a normal 50-50 team after the bye so we don't have to assume the worst every time Manny Diaz gets an extra week to prepare.
Really feel on that. You doing a stream tomorrow or what?
Yeah, we'll definitely do. It's a Friday night. I'm definitely doing a stream. Definitely gonna have a few drinks and live tweet the shit out of stuff. So
Yeah,
feel
and
free
we
to
always
hang.
said you can definitely follow our live tweets, and then you can definitely see the feel of the game. So other than that, be sure to check out. That's it for this episode. Be sure to check out all the great blogs at Pro Sports Extra. With Spiked Rob, I'm Space Coast Ched, and later, guys.
Go Canes.
Go Canes.